Ask the average person in the UK why they might not buy an electric car, and you'll probably get two answers: price and range. This is the MG5, and it sets out to solve those problems because you can buy this from £25,000 after the government's £2,500 plug-in car grant. So you're talking about roughly the same price as much smaller EVs like the Peugeot e-208 and Renault Zoe, but you're getting a car that's roughly Volkswagen ID3 size. You can definitely see the appeal there. The trade-off for that price might be the looks, because this is, well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the looks, is there? But it's also one of the least memorable cars out there. It's incredibly bland. So if you don't mind that, then actually the rest of the car is really quite tempting.
Even though it's only just been launched, the MG5 is already set to get a battery upgrade before the end of 2021, which will get it an official range of up to 249 miles. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the Car Guru's UK YouTube channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of our videos. The MG5 gets a really decent sized boot, but the load lip could be a bit lower and there's no variable height boot floor. There's also quite a lot of signs of cost saving around the boot with some slightly shoddy looking materials and this kind of thing, but few people are going to mind given the cost of this car. Space in the back of the car is also very good. There's loads of legroom and you'll even get 3 people across the bench, no problem at all.
It's all nice and straightforward up here too, and I have to say, I think MG's done a good job with material quality. The gloss plastics all look quite nice, the steering wheel feels good, you know, it actually feels pretty solid in here. I don't think you're going to have any quibbles with that. Equipment is decent too.
The higher spec exclusive car might be the one to go for though. Yes, it's £2,500 more, but it switches fabric seats for leather and adds heated electrically adjustable seats with lumbar adjustment, heated side mirrors and climate control.
Now, all of the cars get this touchscreen, which includes nav, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, all of the stuff that you're going to want really. My only quibble with it, well, the graphics aren't great and sometimes it's a bit slow, but more than that is that in this system there's no option for timed charging, which is something that I think most electric car users want and use on a daily basis. So that's where you set the car to charge only between midnight and 5 AM when you're on your home wall box, so you get the cheap electricity tariffs. So that's not great. Other little details about charging as well, like the exterior charging lights tell you if there's a problem with the charging or when it's charging correctly. They're barely even visible, so that's not great either.
The MG5 plugs in via a flap in the nose of the car, and it uses the same Type 2 and CCS sockets that almost every other EV uses. These are the European standard socket types and will be compatible with most public chargers in the UK. A peak charging rate of 50 kilowatts will get 100 miles of charge into the MG5 in around about 45 minutes to an hour, while plugging into a standard 7 kilowatt home wall box will get a full battery in around about 8.5 hours. And you get all the cables you'll need, including one to trickle charge at a normal 3-pin domestic socket. So that's all your ownership and charging stuff. Let's see what the MG5 is like to drive.
Why are there not more electric estates? I don't really understand. I mean, I know everybody wants an SUV these days, I get that, but lots of people like estates too, me included. I love an estate. So I am a bit puzzled as to why it's taken this long for somebody to do one, because this is the first pure electric estate. You get a 154 brake horsepower motor, which powers the front wheels, so you can't get a four-wheel drive version of this or anything. But it's pretty sprightly, you know, so it does 0 to 62 in 7.7 seconds. So there is absolutely no problems whatsoever with the performance in this car. In fact, to be honest, it feels, because you get loads of torque straight away, feels punchier than quite a lot of the sort of petrol and diesel equivalents you might consider next to this, which, like I said, sort of includes Golf, Megane, Octavia, all of that stuff really. It's refined too. There's not too much motor whine. Wind noise is pretty good. It's quite a bit of tyre noise, but other than that, definitely quite quiet. It's comfortable as well, which is exactly what you want, because it's never a sporty car. You know, it's just never a car that encourages you to go quickly. It's just a car that encourages you to sit back and just make progress, really. I mean, let's be honest, it's just a bit dull, isn't it? I mean, it's very fit for purpose, and yet the styling says it all. It does it all nicely and yet very forgettably. It is almost remarkable for how magnolia this car is, both to drive, to live with and to look at.
Comfortable though it is, we had some issues with the MG5's traction control being triggered by bad road surfaces, especially at higher speeds.
It's got 3 levels of brake regen, which you toggle through with a little button down here. None of them is strong enough really to qualify for one pedal driving around town. Nearly, but not quite. But they bleed in quite smoothly, so you know it's easy to judge how quickly the car's going to slow down when you come off the throttle. There's another switch next to it, which does absolutely nothing. It's just a completely blank switch. I don't know what it's there for. This is a top spec exclusive car that we're driving, so it's got everything on it pretty much. And yet this little switch here, it's like a kind of teaser for an MG5 somewhere in the world that I assume gets something else that is controlled with this little rocker switch down here. And it's the details in the MG5 that let it down a bit, because like I said, the quality of the materials themselves, pretty good. The way it drives, pretty good, nothing to complain about. I think MG have done quite a good job in a lot of respects. And yet details like that, the little rocker switch down there, that charging stuff that I've mentioned, even aspects of the dash are quite funny as well. Although, give them credit, this is the only electric car I know of that's got a rev counter. Electric motors spin much faster than a conventional combustion engine. I quite like that. I think it's fairly useless. I can't imagine anybody ever needing to know that. But there you go, it is there. So there you have it, the MG5. It is remarkable in its very unremarkableness, and I quite like it for that. But yeah, very fit for purpose, and nothing more, nothing less, really.
When it comes to real-world range, the MG5 is actually pretty good. In warmer weather, even when you're on fairly solid motorway miles, we've seen well over 200 miles. In winter, we would expect that to drop down to more like 150 miles, since colder weather will always eat away at the range and efficiency of any electric car.
The MG5 isn't really a very lovable kind of car, it has to be said, but it is super practical. And you know what? It's just such a common sense purchase. There are lots of things MG could do in terms of those little charging details I talked about to make it a bit easier to live with, but apart from that, for what you get for the money, it's very hard to argue with. And you know what? I think MG as a brand, if we can give up on that whole kind of wicker basket sort of nostalgic lifestyle thing that we still want to associate the brand with from the old days of yore, then MG is setting itself up brilliantly as a sort of Dacia of the electric car world, and this is a fantastic example of that. Head to cargurus.co.uk for a whole host of fantastic used cars, all from top-rated dealers.